Hello, Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, my friends, obviously this is not the normal situation yet again that you guys were expecting. I tried to make sure to give you guys more than ample warning of this because obviously the military being the situation that it is, I'm currently out on a temporary assignment and needless to say, the technological features here are very, very limited. So obviously for the next couple of videos, we're going to be in an environment where I'm not going to have my normal high-tech stuff, you know, green screen, all that nonsense, but we will make it work to the best of our ability. But now, let's actually talk about the game last night against the Rams. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the good, because I believe that we should start off there. What's the good? The good is that, once again, we came away with the win. That's the most important thing. We came away with the victory. Because obviously, as the NFL would like to say, and most people will also say, a win is a win. And I would agree with that for, 90% of the part of, that whole saying. So that's the first thing. We got the W. We got the dub. Okay, started the year off with a win. Good. The second thing I will say that was good is that the Lions showed they were still a gritty group. They're still going to fight. They're still going to claw, scratch, and do whatever they got to do to win. Just because last year we went 12-5, we got all the way to the NFC Conference Championship game, does not mean these guys got complacent, does not mean these guys got soft, does not mean these guys are resting on their laurel. They're still as gritty, they're still as gnarly as ever. So that aspect of the team, don't have to worry about that. Because the Lions, at the very end of that game, they really put it all together and they showed their typical gritty aspect of them that comes directly from Dan Campbell. So definitely showed that grit, definitely showed that fight, definitely loved that. And then I'm going to say this. The other thing I really liked that I thought was good is that for Jake Bates, the fact of the matter is that for everybody that thought he was going to be shaky going into that game because of the fact it was his first, actual NFL game and the fact that he'd been a little bit inconsistent in the preseason, the fact of the matter is that he was perfect. Made all of his extra points, made all of his field goals, and made the field goal at the very end of the game that tied the game so that way we could go into overtime. So that right there, I was very happy with. And obviously, there were other performances I was happy with. Obviously, Jameson Williams, loved what I saw out of him last night. I believe if it had not been for David Montgomery's heroics, he would have definitely been the best player for us last night. But between David Montgomery and Demo, those guys were awesome. I would also throw Alex Anzalone in there because he made a lot of big plays last night too. So there was some good things from last night's game. There truly was a lot of good things last night. However, there were also a lot of bad things. There were a lot more bad things from that game last night, a lot more teaching moments from that game last night than what I would have cared for a team of our, roster talent, caliber, status, Super Bowl contending status, whatever you want to call it, than what I was comfortable with. Because for me, the way I was looking at this game, I was like, dude, the Lions should blow the damn doors off the Rams. Like, going into the game, I was like, dude, our offense is better than the Rams' defense, and our defense has now had all of this talent infused into it, and the Rams' offense is dealing with a literal rash of injuries and, huge players that are missing. Because going into that game, the Rams didn't have their starting left tackle due to suspension. They didn't have their starting right tackle due to injury. Didn't have their starting tight end due to injury. So they were already missing 3 huge offensive pieces going into that game. So I was like, okay, here. We should have a very good opportunity. We're at home. We're going to have the home crowd with us. We should have everything that we need because we're only missing a couple of players that might have any sort of impact, and that was Ife Melifonwu and, DJ Reader. Otherwise, we're in good health. We're in perfect situation to go into this game and just absolutely wreck the Rams. But as everybody knows that watched that game last night, that was not at all what we saw. It was not even remotely close to that. In fact, again, like my thumbnail image suggests, it was embarrassing. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat it. I already know this for a fact, that the people that watch that game that aren't Lions fans, they're going to say the fact that we barely beat that team last night shows that we have a lot of work we have to do. That was not a good showing from a potential Super Bowl contender. And you know what? They would absolutely be right. 100% they would be right. Because we went into that game already knowing we had the upper hand in virtually every single capacity. And then throughout the course of the game, things got even worse for the Rams. They kept losing more offensive linemen. They lost Puka Nacua. Matthew Stafford got injured with an ankle injury. So it's like, okay, these Rams are getting freaking, just another rash of various injuries that are limiting their ability to run their game plan. And still, they made it a game. Rather than the fact that the Lions just completely, massacred them, blew them out of the water, it was a game. And it shouldn't have been a game. We were up 17-3 at the halftime period. And then once we come out of the halftime, oh, that's right, I remember, I'm looking up at the damn screen and, oh my, the Rams are now up 20-17. And there's only 4.5 minutes left in the game. Oh my Lord. And then as you guys all know, we get the ball back. Nope, go with quick 3 and out. We have to punt the ball away. And then the Rams, I'm telling you this right now. I'm so glad that Matthew Stafford is actually is not infallible, because had he completed that last throw to Cooper Kupp on 4th down, we would not be having this conversation, most likely. So that right there, huge break for the Lions. But for me, the fact is that this game was as close, as tight as it was, and the fact that it had to go to overtime to resolve it, and realistically, it came down to a coin flip. The fact that our offense then actually finally decided to wake up and decided to drive down the field, continue to hand the ball to David Montgomery, which I can't understand why in the hell we went away from David Montgomery in the first quarter, because, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yet we went away from it. And then for the next, 2.5 quarters, we couldn't do anything. But once we put Demo back in, oh my Lord, we're actually able to pull off, big chunks of yardage. We're getting 4 or 5 yards a pop on the ground. The passing game's starting to open up a little bit on play action. Gee, I wonder where this has been for the last, 2.5 quarters. Couldn't tell you. So for me, the fact of the matter is that we went into that game with the clear advantage. I mean, for crying out loud, going into the game, Vegas had us as a 4.5 betting favorite, which I was like, okay, that to me is just them probably being conservative, because it is the first game of the season, because it is, trying to feel out what these two teams are going to be about. But to me, it's like, dude, the Lions have the clear advantage in almost every single position group. And as the game went by, it became even more apparent, like I said, that we should have just freaking spanked the Rams' butts. It shouldn't have been a contest. But the fact of the matter was, it was. So then it comes down to one of two perspectives. Is Sean McVay that damn good of a coach, or did our coaches not properly prepare our guys? And you know what? Sean McVay can be a literal offensive genius for all the hell I care. But there's no way in hell a coach is going to be able to somehow come up with a game plan that freaking quick with all of these guys missing and all the guys getting hurt that he has, and somehow be able to pull off a game like that. There's no chance in hell that that's all going to be on that coach. That to me tells me that even if Sean McVay made whatever changes he had to make and, adjustments in game that he did, that tells me that our guys were not prepared as well as they should have. Or if they were prepared, our coaches weren't making adjustments like Sean McVay's coaches were, or Sean McVay himself was. Because I didn't see that from our coaches last night. I sure as hell didn't see it with freaking Aaron Glenn, and I didn't see it from Ben Johnson until very late in the game. So it's like, where the hell were our coaches? Why were we not doing anything when we absolutely needed to do something to recapture the momentum? Why did we not do something? Because the other thing that was uncharacteristic last night was the lack of aggression from Dan Campbell's part. I mean, I've said this before, and don't get me wrong, I'm glad that we actually decided to kick field goals when we had the opportunity, because those field goals definitely helped us win the game. especially the two ones that were by Jake Bates, because that would have been the typical time that, freaking Dan Campbell would have gone for it in the past. Hey, we're in the red zone, or we're close to the red zone. Let's go for it. Let's get the touchdown. Nope. Let's send out the kicker. Let's get our 3 points, and let's go with what we got. Okay, that's fine. But there were several times where it was like, okay, it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 4. This would be a time where I think the Lions should possibly go for it. This would be a time where I think the Lions could decide to be a little aggressive, could decide to get a little risky, rather than putting the ball back in Stafford's hands because, oh, that's right, we can't seem to get him down to the ground, and at the same time, our defensive backs, for whatever reason, are letting Cooper Kupp just own the field. So to me, I'm just like, okay, here. I'm sitting back here and I'm just like, dude, I'm not liking what I'm seeing because it seems like the very opposite of what we've seen in the past was occurring right before our eyes on Sunday night. Now, again, I understand. It was the first game of the season. And as I'm going to say in a lot of other episodes, probably throughout the rest of this week, I get it. It's the first game of the season. And you know what? These guys were probably rusty. They hadn't probably spent a whole lot of time playing with each other as far as, getting chemistry, understanding their assignments and all that nonsense. I understand that. But my God, when a depleted, injured, freaking Rams team is dealing with second stringers and third stringers, and they're playing better than our first stringers, that's a problem, preseason or not. The level of talent that was on that field last night compared to the Rams and the Lions, it wasn't even in the same galaxy, let alone the same, actual ballpark. The Lions, like I said, they should have destroyed the Rams. And the fact that it had to go to overtime for the Lions to actually finally win the game, when the game should have been put away a lot sooner than that, to me is just, it's unacceptable. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. Our team is designed, our team is gunning for a Super Bowl. And while I know the Rams are a quote-unquote playoff caliber team, the talent that they had last night was not playoff caliber because most of it wasn't playing. That's why I'm saying I'm glad we got the win. I'm glad the players that we had came in, stepped up, and some of them did a really great job. But if not for a couple of players making those plays and doing their jobs, we would be having a completely different conversation than what we're having this morning. A much different conversation. So for me, I look at this game and it's like, I understand it's the first game and I'm glad we got the W. We can move on to the next one. But what we saw has got to get better really damn quick. I'm telling you this right now. If we play like we played last night against the Bucs, because I watched the Buccaneers game against the Washington Commanders, and I'm telling you this right now, if we play like we did against the Bucs, we're not winning. There's no chance in hell. Because freaking Baker Mayfield in that game was literally just tearing the freaking Washington Commanders to shreds. And then on top of that, the defense was doing a pretty good job of shutting down the Washington Commanders, except for Jaden Daniels' ability to scramble. So it's like, okay, here, we better figure out what's going on in a real damn hurry, and we better be able to get our poop in a group really quick. Otherwise, we're going to have our first L pretty damn quick. So I'm hoping and praying that whatever the Lions do this week in practice coming up, they look at what happened in the film, they figure out what happened in the film, they correct the mistakes, and they come out like they're supposed to against the Bucs. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long night when we play the Bucs on Sunday. A very long night. But anyway, folks, I've said my piece. I could keep going on and talking about this, but at the end of the day, the best thing I can say is we got the W. That's all that matters. We just have to now learn from what happened on that night, from last night, and actually make it happen going into the future. We have to be able to do our jobs much better and much more consistently than what we saw Sunday night. Otherwise, this is going to be a reoccurring conversation that I am not going to enjoy having. But Having said that, I'm going to end the episode, and I just want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to do one of these three things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage you all, please, to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you've not done so, or if you haven't had a chance to do so, I should say, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. I also want to encourage y'all, please, share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere you possibly can, because the more we can share it, the greater the channel can grow and spread. And with that being said, to everybody, I hope you all have enjoyed the content. I hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. And whether you were a first-time viewer or you've been viewing me for a long time, I hope you all enjoyed the content. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.